Next, welcome first-time DynamicsCon speaker, Mairead Lyons. She will present her session, Revolutionizing Support with a Custom Copilot, the Chappy story. Please stick around after Mairead's session for a live Q&A.
My name is Mairead, that's Parade with an M. I'm delighted to be a speaker in DynamicsCon Virtual 2024 and have the chance to bring Chappy to you all. Fair warning, I use the word Copilot an awful lot, so be prepared to feel like the word Copilot no longer has any meaning. Feel free to play a game and see how much Copilot words I say throughout the presentation. So before I introduce you to him, I'm going to introduce myself. I've been working in all tech for about 6 years, working through from support to app specialist to functional analyst lead. I've worked in the IT industry / support field for about 17 years, and I genuinely love my job. I love being able to support a business, support a team and guide a team, and more importantly, I love finding ways to work smart and not hard. Probably a bit too much. I fully embrace Copilot in my everyday life, from tidying up messy text messages about birthday plans, or meal prepping for the week, or coming up with ideas for my daughter on a rainy day. In Ireland, it's fairly raining quite a lot. In 2022, I had my daughter, and before I went on maternity leave, I tried to find a way to make the transition of me going as smooth as possible. So I created a OneDrive called Mairead's Brain. It did the job that I needed to do. However, it didn't have that human factor. So we couldn't go straight to a person and say, hey, can you find me this? Or I need this. People had to search for it. So when I came back, I sought different ways to improve this. In September, though, I hit a bit of a stumbling block and I ended up on extended sick leave for about 3 months. This sped up the need in me for a better way of knowledge transfer and support. So this is where Chappy comes in. Today I'm going to bring you through the creation, his personality, and also his lessons learned and what's next for Chappy. When you take up a project, be it creating a Copilot or building a website, there is no point in looking at the solutions if the why isn't identified. For me, the why was easy. I needed something because I was put in a position where I was needed but not available. I wanted to find a way that would help support more effectively and allow the team and the business to benefit. Support systems are crucial across all sectors in the IT industry. Support ensures that systems run smoothly, minimizing downtime and enhancing efficiency. For farmers, support might come in the form of access to the latest ag tech, or for retail workers, it might be the most effective point of sale system or online store for their business. Regardless of the field, support is a key driver of productivity and success. So having the best tools that suit the business lends to a better support team. A great support team really amps up efficiency, getting tasks done faster and with more accuracy. This means saving money and boosting revenue. Good support helps spot and fix issues quickly, cutting down on wasted time and costs. By ramping up productivity, support plays a key role in driving revenue growth. In our support team, having the right structure and tools and people is everything. It makes us a stronger team and helps prevent burnout or boredom. This way, we can dive into the more complex, meaty tickets that not only challenge us, but excite us about what we do. Having the right tools to help this support is the key, and it is my why. So when I returned to work after my sick leave, I really wanted to find a way to support our team, not only for the likes of me, but also of a support team member, a mentor, an escalation point. But at Alltech, like many other businesses, our operations run around the clock across various time zones, ensuring that there's always someone on duty, and a constant need to support was both important to the support team and the business. The global operations focus really brought some key questions to the table. Who can help us triage issues 24/7? Our support teams are diverse, with each member possessing special skills and abilities. The diversity is what makes our team exceptional, as we work together seamlessly. However, we needed a solution, someone or something that had comprehensive knowledge of all the intricacies, all the customizations, and all the features of our ERPs. This solution needed to be reliable regardless of the time zone. So I had a lot more questions than I had answers, and I had to go on a bit of a fact-finding mission. I had a vision, but I wanted to ensure that mine aligned with the business. From completing my course in Power Platform, I believed that Copilot was the solution. I presented this solution and collabed with key team members from support, development, infrastructure, operations, quality, and training teams. Together, we storyboarded the process, asking crucial questions like what should it look like and what should he be able to do on day one. The last question was vital because solutions, particularly Copilot or AI or similar technologies, are constantly evolving, and so are the business needs. We had to identify the must-haves and nice-to-haves in order to set a realistic timeline and create a set of urgency. So we pinpointed the customization specifics to our business. We evaluated what our solution could learn from. Standard resources like Microsoft and Dope Forms were vital, and what was also unique to us, so our localizations depending on the country that we were supporting. We assessed existing resources that could easily be adapted. The must-haves were then highlighted to me, and I suppose are something to think about when you're building your first Copilot. So the knowledge base. We wanted Chappy to have access to a central repository for all the information related to our D365 instances, including localizations, functions, and processes and SOPs. This ensured accurate and up-to-date information at any time. Obviously, 24/7 was one of the main goals and was our why, so that was key. Unlike human employees, Chappy would be available 24/7, providing support across all time zones, so that people could take breaks without feeling compelled to be available or check their emails and their messages, especially around the go-live time. Efficient information retrieval. Chappy, we wanted to have the ability to quickly retrieve information and using natural language processing, present the relevant information, making it easier for employees to find what they needed without sifting through a ton of SOPs. We wanted him to integrate with our existing systems. We wanted to avoid reinventing the wheel. Chappy would integrate seamlessly with our existing systems and tools, communication platforms, and other relevant software. This also had the added bonus of being incredibly cost-effective. User-friendly interface was another one. Chappy, we wanted to be intuitive, allowing our support team to interact with it easily through a chat-based system. We also wanted Chappy to continuously learn from interactions and feedback, improving its responses and expanding knowledge over time. The Copilot essentially should prioritize essential information, avoiding the inclusion of extraneous details. Now, before I go further, I want to quickly run through Copilot Studio and show you some of the key points I focused on, and maybe show you how to build a quick basic Copilot. After this demo, I'll go through each of the decisions that I made for my Copilot and why. So here is Microsoft Copilot Studio. This is where the magic happens. What is great about this dashboard is whether you're a tech wizard or a tech mogul, Copilot Studio is an easy way to use the platform with features laid out in a great way. It's packed with tools and features and makes complex tasks easy to break down and work on piece by piece. When you log into Copilot, you're brought to the homepage. This is where you can see the Copilots that you have made and the ability to create a Copilot through Copilot. I hope everyone's counting and putting up their ideas of how long or how many times I'm going to say Copilot. And also various templates and a great knowledge resource here as well. In the top right here, you have environments. Environments are essentially different workspaces to cater to various stages of development and deployment. Think of them as separate zones where you can work on different tasks without interference. So you could have a development environment, testing and production environment. But Mairead, I hear you say, without publishing it, surely it doesn't matter what environment you're in. Again, depending on the business standards and the number of people that would work on your Copilot, there are a few reasons you might want to change environments while you're working on your Copilot. I think that's like 50 Copilots I've said already. Some of the examples of environments are isolated testing, so to test a new feature or updates without impacting the live Copilot. Quality assurance, to ensure that all changes are thoroughly vetted and don't introduce bugs or errors into the environment. Controlled rollouts, to ensure and gradually deploy updates and monitor their impact. And data integrity, to protect the live data and the potential risks associated with untested changes. So let's create Dynamic Connor. He is going to help us identify and figure out what's happening today. So the create button on the top left here does exactly what it says on the tin. I'm going to select new Copilot here. And you essentially have 3 different ways to create the Copilot. You can use Copilot, you can skip to configure up here, or you can just create and go from there. For this demo, I want to go into configure because I want to get an idea of what I'm doing and how it works. I'm going to give him a name. So I'm going to say Dynamics Connor. I'm going to keep the icon as is for now and put in a description. Now, The knowledge is an important one to note here. With the knowledge, when you get into the configuration stage, you're limited in what you can put in. So you have various different types of knowledge that you can put in when you get to the created stage. But for now, when we're in the configuration stage, we can only add a public website or a SharePoint. So I'm going to add a public website. So I'm going to pick this fabulous thing here. And we can also add a name and a description if we need to. For this example, I won't. And we just press create. So this will get our Copilot going. And then we can look at the various settings and configurations that we can make at this stage. So here we have DynamicsCon. As you can see, he's not published quite yet. We have a little bit of work to do before we can make him ready to help. So this button here, this enables, is a really helpful tool. It is AI knowledge, and it helps your Copilot pull info from various sources without needing specific topics. It can be the main source info, so you'll have the knowledge here, and then it uses the AI knowledge as a backup if needed. This means you can create and launch a Copilot quickly without all the manual work. It creates a conversation topic called conversation boosting with a generative answers node. So basically, you can use the knowledge sources straight away. So enabling this function allows you to use AI as a backup. When this bit is disabled, it will only reference the sources within this knowledge base and only that. It's helpful for kind of a help desk helper like Chappy, but not so much when you're building a bigger Copilot or when you're using a link that's quite big with loads of information in it. So we've set enabled here. I'm going to give it a wee check and see how it's acting. So, hi, can you tell me about DynamicsCon? So because we have this enabled, like I said, it looks into this and it pulls AI as well into it. So you can see it picks references from DynamicsCon and it helps with all the information here. Now, if I wanted to ask about a presenter, maybe a presenter called Mairead, let's see if that works. Okay, not super helpful. They know that there is a presenter called Mairead at DynamicsCon, but there's not an awful lot of information after that. So this is the next bit of the AI and the generative knowledge comes from. In settings up here on the top, you have generative AI. So classic, which I'll go into in a little bit, uses the topics and creates static content only. Generative is great for bigger websites or bigger Copilots. So I'll select that for this example. I'm not keen on having more precise information. I'm just going to see what medium or more balanced says. So I click save on this and I'll go back and test DynamicsCon. So it's given me a little bit more of what Mairead's into. She's lover of all things that make working smarter, and she's been in Alltech for 6 years. That's super personable and kind of helpful. It makes the user feel like they're not talking to a robot. So I'm going to ask what presentation she's giving. I am not presenting the power of Power Automate, as you can clearly see. So let's see if we can do a bit more on the settings. This kind of is the tricky bit of Copilot, the balancing act determining what is the right settings between enabling this feature and going into the settings and turning on the generative AI. It's a bit of trial and error, which, I mean, to be honest, it is for me. I'm still learning every day. This brings up two big points. Regardless of how easy a Copilot might seem, it is so important to test. It is important for many reasons, but it allows us to refine Chappy's responses and workflow and make sure that it is as accurate as we can make it. We had an awful lot of difficulty, particularly when it came to the first iteration of him. We found that there was a fine line between the topic redirection, enabling the AI knowledge, and generative AI. Generative AI here, this setting, can sometimes struggle with certain answers, and it can misinterpret the context and provide information that's not quite right. If you want to go ahead with this option, it's crucial to test and tweak and ensure that Copilot delivers accurate and relevant information. So let's see if we can get it a bit more accurate. I am going to make it a little bit more precise and save. So we'll refresh him a little bit and I'm going to ask again. So you can see now that it's a little bit more accurate. It's great. It told me that I'm involved in a session that is all about Chappy. It also helps with, how do we register? And what I like about this AI knowledge is it also makes the AI a lot more personable. You can make it make fun of what we're saying or make it sound a little bit easier. So I've asked it, how do we register for DynamicsCon? Dynamics Connor has told me that this is the information here. I want him to make it sound more fun. As if it can sound more fun, in fairness. So it's basically written a song for DynamicsCon. And me. A fairly big song. I will save you my voice, and because I don't want your ears to bleed just yet. There's an awful lot of exciting sessions to be on, and I want you to be able to hear them. We've tested him. We're happy enough with him. I'm going to go into the topics now. So I will show you basically in Copilot, you've got a mix of built-in system topics and custom topics to play with. So system topics are your basics, like greetings, help, and handling errors, and making things run smoothly. Custom topics is where it all happens. These are tailored to fit your unique needs, whether it's managing projects, supporting customers, driving sales, or even handling HR tasks. Custom topics is your guy. We've also got the option called channels here. This lists a variety of channels to connect with your audience wherever you are. Whether it's through chat, email, social media, or even voice interactions, Copilot seamlessly integrates across these platforms for a consistent and engaging user experience. These channels allow you to reach out, respond, and interact with your audience. It's all about making the communication as easy and effective, no matter where your target audience is hanging out. So we're going to jump back into testing, and I want to show you two key tools in making sure that he's going into the right places. You have a conversation map. Think of this as your blueprint. It shows how your topics and actions are linked, helping you manage and tweak the flow of your conversation. We also have a topic checker. So once we go into the conversation map, you have a topic checker. So once you're in the map, you can enable a thing called topic checker. This is a handy tool that spots and fixes any errors in your topics. It flags issues you might need to tackle before going live, making sure everything runs like a charm. Okay, so I've done a quick run through of the dashboard itself. So we'll go back to the presentation and talk about what resources I use to work on Chappy and some of the points of focus in developing his personality. The first of which was focusing on the knowledge that I had and try and go from there. Thankfully, as I've shown in the demo, Copilot Studio is very intuitive, and there's a wealth of resources available that allowed me to strip my needs down to the basics and build from a strong foundation. Other resources that I used was the Power Up program. It's a free 3-month initiative designed to help non-tech and tech professionals break into the low-code app development. Participants gain hands-on experience with Power Platform through engaging videos and workshops. The program equips individuals to solve real business problems and earn certifications, making it a fantastic way to kickstart a tech career and open up a new professional opportunities. Other resources that were invaluable to me included Microsoft Learn, the Doug forums, and YouTube, and the Copilot Studio itself. One of the main points that I had to spend some time on was what license I had and what I needed. We worked with Microsoft to get an idea of what we wanted versus what we needed, and to keep our first Copilot simple, we stuck to the standard license. As you can see, there's a few advantages of premium, including premium connectors, so linking your Copilot to a website and email, and also integrating into more of a Microsoft bot framework. Developing his brain was the easy part. We focused on keeping the data as current as possible by sticking to the SharePoint sites, documents, and Microsoft Learn sites. This approach ensured seamless access to the latest information and resources. For Help Desk Focus Copilot, we only needed the system topics created at the start. It perfectly suited the job. With these foundational topics, our Copilot can handle a wide range of queries, providing accurate and timely assistance. The streamlined setup not only simplified maintenance, but also enhanced the user experience by offering reliable solutions promptly. Channels were a bit of an exploration, as you've seen in the demo. We identified what was available in the standard license and decided to leverage Microsoft Teams for our communication needs. By enabling Copilot and Microsoft Teams, we were provided two flexible options. We could either add the Copilot to a team, or a channel, or a chat, or all of the above. This approach streamlined support and maximised the tools we already had in place. It wasn't always smooth sailing with Chappy, especially during the soft launch. The poor guy felt the weight of all those expectant eyes on him, and to make things trickier, my grasp on generative AI was a bit shaky. With both of us feeling the heat, he struggled to find his footing. But every journey has its bumps. Essentially, with all that fine-tuning, he really came into his own, and he became the lovable rogue on our team chat that helped us out so much. Chappy wasn't just smart, he was a polyglot. Thanks to the AI knowledge, he effortlessly switched between language, breaking down the communication barriers and making interactions smooth and seamless. Whether it was Spanish, French, Japanese, or in the format of Baby Shark, or any other language, he had it covered. Chappy knew how to have fun as well. With quirky sense of humour and a personable touch, he made every interaction enjoyable. From cracking jokes to sharing fun facts, he ensures that the users not only get the help that they need, but also that they have a pleasant experience. The analytics is like having a backstage pass to see how your Copilot's performing. It gives you insights into user interactions, highlights what's working, and points out areas that might need a little tweak. Basically, it's your go-to tool to make things run smoothly and make sure your Copilot is the best he can be. What did Chappy learn? As I mentioned, generative AI was tricky and unfortunately didn't serve the purpose we needed from him for a help desk helper. He wasn't sure at the start of who he could trust, and sometimes Chappy was lonely. I've already mentioned generative AI versus classic a couple of times, but for the help desk Copilot, we didn't feel the need to go further into generative AI, especially when we only wanted him to focus on the content that we had and not get lost in the weeds of search engines. So authentication in Copilot is all about ensuring secure access and smooth interactions. It wears a few capes to suit different needs. So no authentication. This is perfect for the kind of sites that are customer facing and an online shop, for example, where the customer wants to access the return policy or something similar. Authentication within Microsoft means is more for an internal organization. So it would be exactly what Chappy was built for, being a help desk helper. And manual authentication, this option provides flexibility for various use cases and ensures secure access to restricted resources. So that's for a good example of this would be an induction or an onboarding system where the user wouldn't necessarily have an organizational account yet, but they need to get on board and trained to the organization that they're joining. We really struggled with encouraging engagement. Some folks were a little hesitant, clinging to what they know, the SOPs, where they knew the SOPs were, asking people because they thought it might be easier to have that knowledge from a person. We also found that people forgot about Chappy in their daily grind. We had to regularly remind everyone that and share success stories to keep him in the spotlight. Not everyone got how awesome Chappy was. We had to find a way to boost his visibility with targeted messages and real-world examples of his capabilities. If users weren't trained well, they might not use Copilot confidently. We had to offer solid training resources and ongoing support to build their skills and trust in Chappy. Basically, adding Chappy to a chat instead of a channel or an app within Teams really helped bridge the gap and made him feel less lonely. This approach was more engaging and accessible in keeping Chappy an essential part of our daily workflow. So Chappy is helping out our support team on a daily basis. What's next for him? The possibilities are endless and the tools available are plenty. We want to see Chappy get more specialised, adapting him to suit more advanced users, especially around D365 go-live periods. We're also working on an extension of Chappy that will allow users to track their tickets and log tickets through him if he can't be of any help. This will ensure that everyone's needs are met quickly and efficiently. It helps the support team focus on trickier issues, increasing return of investment, and it helps the business to sort out technical issues more confidently. At the end of the day, people work differently, and Chappy is another way to cater to everyone and streamline our processes even further. We're also exploring integration with other platforms to make sure Chappy fits seamlessly into all of our workflows. The goal is to make Chappy not just a support tool, but an integral part of how we work, continually evolving to meet our needs. And that's where Chappy's story ends for now. I want to thank you all for your time with me this morning, and thanks to DynamicsCon for hosting a great and exciting virtual event. Looking forward to jumping into more sessions today and connecting with you.
So yeah, I just if there's any questions or anything to with regards to Chappy, I can talk a little bit more about what Chappy's done so far, and kind of I'd love to hear any ideas or any kind of suggestions on Copilots or what everyone's up to with Copilot stuff. But yeah, so as what Chappy's up to now actually is quite exciting. So we have moved him into more localized areas. So for maybe a D365 implementation in Australia, where there's a lot more financial localizations and customizations, we don't want Chappy to get lost in all the minutiae of the common standard issues that they see. So we were able to fully focus on the D365 implementation in Australia, for example, and get him answering questions like that. We're really focusing now on putting them out to the users. We really want to allow and give him the ability to log tickets on the user's behalf so that the support team are more focused on the more complex issues, and also help people get more confidence in IT and technology. So yeah, the generative and classic AI, that was the really tricky bit. We found with the classic AI is perfect for a Copilot that you just wanted to do what it's given in information. So if you have loads of Word documents or PDFs, and you wanted to just read that information and just present that information to the user or whoever's using the Copilot, that's what you need. The generative AI was so vague for our needs. It would maybe sometimes take things out of context. It would take things quite literally as well. So if I was saying, who's Mairead Lyons, it would pick 90 different Mairead Lyons off the World Wide Web and give me a random one. And to be honest, I didn't fully go into fixing that and fine-tuning it. There's a lot of work that is put into that. And for my first Copilot, I didn't really want to go into it. I'm hoping to do a little bit more on that. But yeah, generative AI, for the example, like DynamicsCon, he was perfect using generative AI with a more precise setting. I hope that kind of clears that question or helps. Have I tried the SharePoint integration with Copilot? Nope, I probably should. That is one of the things I am looking forward to getting into Chappy stuck into, particularly like with forms, leave forms and hire forms and stuff like that. We did have him pulling from a SharePoint site at one point, and it worked fine. But again, it's kind of fine-tuning him a little bit. We decided at the time not to let him. For the Australian Chappy, who we've funnily enough called Skippy, he uses the SharePoint site that we've built for that specific Go Live implementation. Have the team taken to using Copilot? So that was actually quite tough. We had Chappy on a channel as opposed to a chat at first, and he was just a little person that you could kind of, on the left-hand side, where you could kind of search his name, and it was kind of a message. An awful lot of people, I think, and including myself, was like, why would I talk to or try and find Chappy in a channel if I had somebody else who was a bit more human to talk to? So we found that struggle, and at that point it was kind of, Chappy did feel really lonely, and I felt bad for Chappy. I wanted him to be included in the team. So when the first time Chappy broke, or probably the second time, we ended up putting him in the chat, and it's much more engaging. He's learning a lot more. He's picking up what we mean. So if I say I'm having an issue with the sales order now, I don't have to mention D365. I don't need to mention AX2012. He kind of gets it in the previous conversations, what I'm referring to, and so on. So I feel like the engagement in him has improved significantly since he broke the second time. So yeah. Thanks for that question. What else is there so I said what we were planning for Chappy. I also I am actually interested to see, have any of you integrated or created a Copilot for yourselves, to see if there's anything that you would have seen or any issues that you faced. Yeah, I think if I haven't answered any question properly, please shout. I'm hoping when we're putting it into a ticketing system, or getting it to create tickets for users, I do want to understand how users work as well. So, there's always kind of a different way in how, if you get a problem like a password reset, that could be quite urgent and they just want to talk to somebody really quick. So there's going to be an awful lot of work put into Chappy to understand, okay, this is urgent. Please don't ask me what's my name, what's my email, or anything like that. Just get it done and be able to read the emails as quickly as possible. and also to kind of encourage the business to identify and be able to get confident in those tickets. And that kind of helps improve the business financially as well. In the demo, I skipped over instructions. How much time should we invest? That's a good question. I personally, again, I kind of went with the mindset of don't get it right, get it going, and then fix it. And I was privileged in the position that I was in, and that I was only for this specific IT team. So I think the instructions are more important for if you were putting it out to a business or to the users, and how you wanted to facilitate him and how to have the users engage with and communicate with Chappy to get him to understand you a little bit better. So that's probably why I didn't focus on the instructions as much as I should have. And integrating the chatbot in a chat. So I did kind of glance over that super quickly, but in channels, there is an option when you select teams on the right-hand side, you can put in, add them to a channel or add them to a chat. And adding to a chat, because it's Microsoft to Microsoft, it's pretty seamless. You can just, once you press OK, it asks you a chat. Do you want to integrate Chappy into or Copilot into, and off it goes. When you're chatting to him on the chat itself, you just have to mention him like you would any other person on that chat. Have any suggestions on if there's a better or worse way to structure the data? Again, I think we were very lucky in the information that we had for Chappy. We basically fed Chappy an awful lot of our SOPs from a OneDrive or a SharePoint site. So it was very much beginning, middle, end. Ideally, having, using the wording and making sure that the wording is quite specific would be ideal. So like, for example, we had various different localizations for if Chappy was, let me say the words correctly. I'm saying Copilot so much, I think my brain has exploded. If we say Australia and the rest of the world standard processes, and we put all of our information into Chappy saying Australia and all the words. If I was to go to Chappy and say, how do I do a sales order? Chappy would immediately go to the general standard sales order information. So having the information as specific as possible, both on the information that Chappy's pulling from and the information that you're asking Chappy for, is vital, I think. I'm not sure if I answered that question really well, so please let me know if I haven't. Do I recommend a custom Copilot like Chappy? Yes. Like I said at the beginning, I love Copilot. I love that it just takes the mental load off a person. So regardless of, how do I word emails correctly? How do I do this correctly? It can be really hard if you're emailing people every day, or if you're trying to present yourself in a professional way, which I'm acing, by the way, today. A Chappy is really handy for that information, or a Copilot is really handy because you can just basically give all the words to a Copilot and say, make this make sense. And it will. You probably need to word it a little bit better, but it's great for that. I find Copilot in general, for me, I find in my real life super useful for the meal planning, like I said. I find that it's great for identifying and where places to triage and stuff like that. So if you were integrating a Copilot into a small company, having him, for example, as a customer service agent of like, oh, what time do you open? What time do you close? So we're not getting inundated with that on the phone, maybe. For example, so I hope that explains. But yeah, I'm all about Copilot. So if anyone ever wants to geek out about Copilot, I'm your girl. I think it's kind of the way technology is going now. And I know there's fear as well about Copilot and AI and where we're going and what's going to happen in the future with it and the legalities of it. I feel if we use it properly and correctly, there's room for improvement, and it gives us time as well. It gives us a lot of brain space. I find with being a mum and being a person who's kind of coming back from sick leave and stuff like that, I didn't have an awful lot of brain space. And I definitely didn't have enough brain space to do words in an email to prove that I was actually a professional. I could say all the words and I could write all the words, but presenting that to a person who doesn't fully understand the context of D365 or the technology on Microsoft. That's where I found Copilot really shone for me. Yeah, so is there anything else that did I not answer, or could I have answered better? I definitely, I feel like as far as my experience with Copilot, I am very much an intermediate person, if that. I feel like because Copilot in the studio was so intuitive, it made it really easy without having to think much. And I suppose I would have loved to go into it more, and I will, and I do. I'm sure my team are sick of me saying, have you asked Chappy, what do you think of this? And how can we do this? And please make sure you're using Copilot on a regular basis. So, but yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to me on LinkedIn. So it's linkedin.com/Mairead Lyons. I'll put it up on the chat. But if you ever want to ask questions or have a kind of a rubber duck situation about a Copilot, I'm absolutely up for having the chats about it. Yes, there is additional cost to using Copilot services. So if you're using a premium license, I think it depends on what you want, and there's various different things. I think it's roughly $200 per month per question. So it's not even a per user license. I please don't quote me on that. But it gives you the ability to put Copilot in a website or Facebook or WhatsApp or Jira or ServiceNow. So that's where the cost of the premium license really shines as well. I think we weren't really fully wanting that at the time. We definitely would consider it, I think, if Copilot or Chappy got a little bit bigger and we wanted to integrate them into our ticketing system. But for now, we just like having that little person or that little guy giving us a hand or a dig out when we need it. No, sorry, I probably didn't explain that properly. So it's $200 per month for an extra like 20,000 questions. So it really is like a lot of questions you want to be using at that point. So it's topics. Anytime somebody adds a topic, I think it's roughly about 20,000 topics as well. And then also the extras, like putting them in different channels and different analytics. And there's an awful lot more actions that you can have Chappy do as well with a premium license. So for our Chappy, we had him connected to Office or Outlook AD Manager or whatever. But you can also add him to various different things at a cost as well, which I believe is included in the premium license. So it's like Gmail, having them phone you or talking to you is also like a premium feature. So yeah, I hope that explains it. Thanks for all of your questions. It really made me think. I didn't even, when you're getting stuck into it, you don't really think about what everyone else would like to see in a Copilot. But it is, I think, having the why, and also like what I said in the presentation is Copilots are massive. They're huge, and without a kind of why and without a purpose or okay, I need him to be able to do this thing, or I need them to be able to do this thing by day one. You're kind of sitting there and constantly changing them and constantly perfecting them. And I think, isn't it the perfection is, I don't actually quite know the proper word, but essentially like it will delay it and it'll delay it, and you won't be able to reap the benefits of all that research that you've done into Copilot unless you come up with a day one, this needs to be done. Does anyone use Copilot on their day-to-day life as much as I do? Has anyone any like shining or ChatGPT? Thank you for that. Perfection is the enemy of the good. Thank you. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you use Copilot for on a day-to-day basis. Is there anything? I think somebody had given me an idea actually for my daughter where they say they were saying that their child is constantly asking for stories about Peppa Pig and them wanting to be in Peppa Pig world, and Peppa Pig and herself go off into Unicorn Land. And obviously there isn't a book that covers that. So that's where Copilot came in brilliantly for myself. Especially because my daughter is big into Baby Shark and Peppa Pig, and they haven't actually had a collaboration yet. So Copilot has made that happen for me. I also really like the meal planning and the workout stuff that it can come up with. So that's really handy. Yeah, I think that integrating with Azure OpenAI, I'd love to hear more about that one actually. So be really interested. Oh yeah, I must do that coloring pages one. So somebody here says they use GPT to create unique coloring pages. So thanks for that tidbit. I'm going to be using that this weekend. Oh, cool. Using Power Up for the UI instead and use Flow for the... Yeah, awesome. That sounds really interesting. I must pick your brain about that stuff after this, or even over the course of the week or the day. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I can talk about? I think the count for Copilot was at 27 at one point. I'm fairly sure we've exceeded that by about 100. Definitely a fair play for counting, because I think I lost count and I was the one that actually did the recording, and I could have looked back and I could have counted how many times I've said Copilot in my script when I was giving the presentation, but no, I should have. I'd get Copilot to do that, I think. So yeah, I suppose I already did this, but thank you so much for sitting in with me and talking and chatting and engaging and having the chats with me. I really appreciated it, and I've really appreciated DynamicsCon for letting me talk about Chappy in so much, with so much people, and actually getting to introduce them to more people than the team that I work with. I think as well, having Chappy, people getting excited about Chappy was a big thing, and people getting excited about Copilot. What I think I showed in the demo, where he was singing songs and stuff like that, that's where the knowledge and the AI piece came in, and it was really fun because a lot of people then started sending Chappy memes and sending him jokes and asking him, was he happy and stuff like that, and then that kind of personalized him a little bit and humanized him, and it made it a lot more easier to engage with something when it was a little bit more human or a bit more comical. And also the speed at which he responded made it really easy for people, once they got into the chat and not the channel, made it really easy for people to kind of mention him on a more regular basis and not lean on somebody who wasn't working the US hours or the Ireland hours or whatever as well. So I found that super helpful in engaging with him. I think unless anyone has any other questions, I might give you 5 minutes of your day back. I really appreciate your time. And yeah, oh, okay, how well would it work for field staff? That's a really good question. I suppose if the field staff have access to Teams or even the chat, like with the premium license, you can integrate them into Facebook or whatever, or Messenger or an email or text messages. So it would be fairly easy depending on what you want him to do and if there was coverage there. So yeah, I think that would be, I think it'd be easy enough once you have the why and the facilities. So yeah, I'm absolutely more than happy to have a rubber duck situation with you and chat about this, because it would be something that I would be keen to bring to our business as well. Yes, it would be very good for linking SOPs and stuff like that. So we have had instances where I've forgotten something on an SOP for a D365 implementation, and I'm like, Chappy, will you get me this? Because I don't have the time to go through 60, 70 pages. And that is ideal for somebody in the field, on a field engineer or something like that, who wants access to it. So I think if there's anything else, I will be in the breakout room for the next while. And again, please feel free to chat me on Umbrella or on LinkedIn. I will send the link on, I think I have my LinkedIn on my profile. And I appreciate all your time. And thanks so much.